Hello there, I'm Big Alias. Here we are again, having a chat, sitting down. Sit down, son. Let me tell you the story of when Darth Plagueis the Wise. He was a Sith Lord so powerful, he could influence the midichlorians to create life. But that's not what we're talking about today. We're going to talk about something else. We're going to talk about video games and a story that I saw, a very optimistic story that I saw. That Phil Spencer has said, I'll tell you what, let's get the quote up. So Phil Spencer has said that he wants to see other digital storefronts like the Epic Games Store or itch.io appearing on Xbox consoles in the future. Spencer says he wants to break down the walled gardens limiting console users to a single store. This has sort of set the Xbox fan base ablaze, and people are really getting very excited about this. Bear in mind, I'm a member of this fan base, by the way. I'm just saying it's got people very excited, and a lot of people are saying if this happens, if we get Steam, that's gonna bury Sony. That'll be it for Sony, and that the Xbox will reign supreme and defeat all that come before it. Listen, I know a man can dream, but I'm going to have to be the bearer of bad news here for you. No way. There is no freaking way in hell that this is going to happen. I just can't see it. I definitely don't think so. I think there's next to no... There aren't many positives. There aren't positives that would outweigh the negatives here for Steam and for Valve, and I don't know, I really can't see it. I think there are far too many people who have allowed access to their game via Steam on a PC who haven't necessarily allowed access to their games via, via an Xbox, via a console. And yes, I'm looking at Sony, basically. Sony have said, yeah, sure, Steam, you can carry our game, but they have not said, yes, sure, Steam, you can carry our game and play it on Xbox, because of course this would bypass the entirety of exclusivity. And then of course we get involved, we get into the companies who have bought into exclusivity themselves. For example, there may be companies who don't want to see their game on an Xbox, and they purposely went with Sony because they don't want that. That's not just a Sony thing, it's not just a Steam thing, it's a decision that the developers and publishers themselves would make. Or maybe there's some sort of clause that's stopping a certain publisher from being able to be on an Xbox. So I don't think, sort of logistically it could happen. I also don't see why Steam would do this. They're the leading people on PC. Why would they then sort of spread themselves to a platform where they clearly wouldn't be the leading people? They would also be sort of under a sister company under the umbrella of a larger company, and I just don't think that that's really their MO. They already have Xbox competing with them on the platform currently on PC, so I don't know why they would get into bed with them and be on a console. And the same thing could be said for the Epic Games Store. Well, I can't speak tonight. There's a bitter rivalry between Steam and the Epic Games Store, so I really don't understand why they would both decide to equally jump into bed with Microsoft and put their platforms on the console. It's that's not where the fight is, and I don't think that... I mean, maybe, I guess, Epic Games Store could say we could get ourselves, onto a reign of the ladder and get ourselves onto the Xbox. I could maybe see that, but I just don't see why Steam would do that. I mean, they're also trying to branch out to their own consoles. They have the Steam Deck at the moment. Why would they then become a service within a different console when they're trying to launch the Steam Deck and they're trying to make it a thing? Just seems very confusing to me. But at the same time, I understand why Phil Spencer would say this. Of course Phil Spencer is going to say this. He'll do everything he can to make something like this happen. I mean, if it did happen, then this would take a huge chunk out of Sony, particularly given that, it's a heavy possibility that we would be able to just download Sony games and remove exclusivity altogether, which again, I'm not sure logistically whether you can do that. But yeah, I think it would have a huge impact on Sony and really push Xbox ahead. Of course Phil's going to say this. It just looks good, and it gets Xbox fans excited. He knows that people are going to take an inch here and run. In that post itself, I didn't see anything to do with Steam, and yet every single response has the word Steam in it, because people, they get wild with stuff like this, and they go nuts with it. And I understand, optimism is nice to have in the community currently. I mean, in general anyway, but, in terms of Xbox, it is nice to have a little bit of optimism here and that, and that's great. But unfortunately, yeah, I just don't see it. We also have a history of, Phil saying stuff like this. He said he wanted to get the Nintendo stuff over to the Xbox, which didn't really happen. I mean, I'm in the middle of No More Heroes 3, which is a Switch port, but that's about as close as we got to, some sort of Switch service on the Xbox. But he's been talking about doing that for years, absolute years. But again, of course he's going to. This is just good PR, and it's working on people too. But I want people to be realistic. No, I don't think this is, personally speaking, I think there's not a chance in hell that we're going to get this. Just stick with the stuff we have. We have some great stuff coming, and honey, yeah, got a big load of games coming, and just look forward to that. And if you want Steam, then hell, buy a PC. I'll see everyone later.
The PlayStation's only $149, and you can also get leading titles.